Alright, in prepping to get ready to put them on the hub, you might notice that when you dry fit them, that it's very difficult to slip them over the armatures for the rotor. Just take and cut yourself a piece of sandpaper a little bit short of the size of the slit in the rotor blade, and then force it into the hole lightly. Don't really force hard where you're worried about breaking it. Pinch it between your four fingers and just work it back and forth lightly a little bit, then go around the other way and work it again lightly the other side. And all you're doing is you're sanding off any super glue and excess material that may have gotten in there while you were gluing the reinforcing fabric in place. So do that a couple times, just a few strokes each direction, and then make sure you get the full length of the slit, and then do a dry fit onto the rotor hub. You can see I've already got one blade on. Now the important thing to remember is you have an angle here. You need to bring it onto the blade and then turn it upright and slide it the rest way in so that you're into this hub. If you look at this blade, you'll see that we have the notch poking up. This part is actually smooth and flush almost, just barely sticking up. And then this part right here is resting inside that little valley. So you've got the blade resting in the valley, not up on top, but resting in that valley. So we're going to hold it. We're going to wiggle it in there. And you can see I'm starting about halfway to 3/4 of the way to the end. Once I've got it up, I'm going to kind of rotate this over, and I'm pushing this down lightly while pushing it forward until I get it to seat in there. Now I need to work this one a little bit more. It's a little bit too tight. I don't want to force it and snap it. So I'm going to take my sandpaper and sand a little bit more on both sides. Flip the paper over. Sand a little bit down. Just remember, be gentle and easy. You don't want to snap it off. That means you have to go back and build a new blade. Okay. So again, we're going to slide it on at the angle. And then gently work the whole blade. There we go. And slide it the rest of the way forward. Once we're seated, we're going to slide it the rest of the way forward and get everything pushed down. Again, the only thing sticking up is the little corner right there on the edge of that one piece, and that's what is going to catch your rubber band when you go to load this thing up. The rubber band will actually catch on that, and that's what's going to pull it up. So now we'll get our next blade on. That one went on real easy, nice and pretty. Okay. Feels fairly even there. So now we're going to grab our glue. I'm going to use thick CA glue this time. Or we can go with thin CA glue. We don't have to do thick. Let's go ahead and go with the thin. I think I'll use thin this time again. Oh no, we'll go thick. Stick with the thick. Okay. So I'm going to put a bead of glue. We want to try and keep it level because it's going to run, possibly if we don't. So we're going to put a little bead of glue right there. A little bead of glue right here on the other side. We're going to feel to make sure we still have that level. We're not sticking funny over there. And we'll take our accelerator, we'll hit it with our accelerator. Let it sit for a few seconds, and we'll dab off the excess accelerator. Now that blade is now permanently attached. Now if for some reason you were to break a blade, you're just going to take your X-Acto knife and sandpaper, you're going to cut off of the hub armature, and then glue a new blade on. That's all you have to do, is just cut the old one off carefully with an X-Acto knife and sandpaper, and then put a new one on. So again, we're going to check. We're going to make sure we're sitting inside our little valley here. We've got our end sticking up. This is level across here. Doesn't feel like it's sticking up any funny. Then we're going to take and put our bead of glue down both sides. And down the other side. Kind of doing a fillet. I'm going to feel it and check it one more time. Okay, we're good. Hit it with our accelerator. There we go. Give it a couple seconds to set up. And wipe away our excess accelerator. So we'll do the third one, and then we're going to do a test fit. Okay. Like the way that one feels. Our glue. Both sides. Check it and make sure again. Feels right. And then accelerator. Remember, keep it level when you hit it with the accelerator or it's going to run. You don't want that to happen. Okay. Dry off the excess. Now it's time for a dry fit. So for the dry fit, we're going to take, stuff all this cord in here. Normally as you've seen in other videos, I crochet a daisy chain into my shot cord, but since I'm not actually getting ready to fly it, I'm just going to take it and tuck it in there. Important thing to remember when you're actually getting ready for launch is make sure all the shot cord's in there and that your hub isn't catching part of it, otherwise it won't go in properly. Now we're going to slide that in there. Nice and easy fit in and out. Slides out easy. A little bit of resistance, which is fine. Alright, we're to the point of balancing our blades now. We want to balance the blades because if they're not, as it comes down and they're spinning, an off-balance blade will make it wobble around like this. We don't want that to happen, so we need to balance the blades. First, we're going to put the rubber bands on. To do that, we're just going to stretch them out. Slide each one over the nose cone. And they are different colors, and this helps in the balancing part. By having the different colors, we can better tell which blade we need to balance. So now we're going to slide that rubber band over the little hook on each blade. So I'm going to bring it down and I'm going to hook it right over that little hook with my finger. There's one. I'll get the next one. Trying not to grab hard with my tweezers. I don't want to damage the rubber band. Grab two. Slide him over. That's up there like that. Obviously, when you're storing the rocket, you want to release the tension off the rubber bands and just pop them off the little hook and let them sit in storage normally so that they don't lose their elasticity, although that's going to happen over time. So now we've got them on. We're going to hold it at an angle, and you're going to notice, I'm going to move this over so you can see, one side seems to go down lower than the others. It's actually two sides seem to be going down. So we'll give it a little spin. And we have a little bit of a lopsidedness there, showing the red or the pink rubber band and the green rubber band down, which means our yellow is the lightest, the pink's the heaviest, the green's not nearly as heavy. If this were balanced, they would spin and it wouldn't do that. It wouldn't come right back that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of the clay that they came with, or if you have another means of weighting a blade of your own that you want to use, you can use that. And a little cold, so it's kind of stiff. Let me warm it up here with my hands. We're going to take a small piece of it off, and we're going to stick it on the underside of the fin that's light. And that's our yellow one. So we want to go about midway, and we're just going to stick that piece on there. First, I'm just going to kind of lightly stick it on there, and we're going to see if that gets it close to balanced. So you can see now it's rotated a little bit. Now the orange fin's all the way down. We'll give it a little spin. And it does that wobble back, which means that that orange is still a little bit heavy. So I need just a little bit more to make sure that we are properly weighted. I'm also making sure all my rubber bands are down properly, but they're not restricting the hub movement. Okay, so we're going to pinch off a little bit more. We're going to add that to what we already have there. Now, if I weigh this out, I can add that much weight to the blade any means that I have available. I can put that much glue on. Okay, now we're going to give her a spin. And now we're just slightly heavy with the yellow. So I'm going to take a little bit of that clay off. We'll put it back on there. Now I'm holding my rod perfectly straight up and down. Real close there. Let's give her another spin. If it lands in the same area consecutively, spin after spin, you have a heavy blade. If it moves around, you have your blade balanced. Let's try a little bit more. It looks like I took off too much. And again, sometimes moving the clay further out, you can use less. But we want to go about midway of the blade. Okay, that's too much on the yellow, it looks like, because it's doing that back and forth rocking. So that's too much. So let's take just a smidge of it away. Try it again. I'm trying to always put the clay right back in the same location. That's a little closer. Almost. Take just a teensy bit of it away this time. Barely even a pinch. Let's see how close that comes. Give her a spin. Real close now. Just a little bit more off. I'm so close now, I'm going to start putting the pieces that pull off to the side so I can, if I go too far one way, I can divide that into two sections and put half of it back on. Okay, it looks like it's still just a little bit heavy. Just a little bit heavy, almost got it. So this gives you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish here. Just take small bits of clay, keep adding until we get the proper balance, and it free spins very, very close. Very close. And that will help prevent it from doing a wobbly descent on its way down. It'll give it a more of a straight descent. Okay, spin it. And if you notice, it's spinning better each time now. It spins a little bit smoother. Almost got it. Another way you could possibly do this, it's not going to be 100% accurate because the amount of glue you use to glue on each blade will vary, but you could weigh each balsa wood fin and sand each fin until they're all equal weight. Okay, that's real close. Give her another spin. Very, very close. So we'll just keep doing this. And the idea is that every time it spins, the same blade doesn't end up on the bottom. Once we get it balanced, I'll come back and we'll show you how well balanced it is. All right, so I've been balancing a little bit. As you can see, I've got clay on 2 blades, actually. A little dot there and another dot there to balance it out, right? So now I don't have one colored rubber band always going down. Right now we've got the orange going down. We'll spin it. Again, I'm holding the rod straight and level. And it stops with the orange blade to the side and the yellow blade to the side. Spin it again. This time we have the yellow blade up and the green blade towards me, the orange blade down. Give it another spin. And again, I'm spinning it the proper direction too. Now we have the orange blade up, green blade down. So you can see it's very random. It's not stopping the same way all the time. The rocking back and forth to settle has slowed down significantly. So it's a lot better balanced now than it was before. So now we're just going to lightly push that on there a little bit better. Hopefully it grabs in there and doesn't come loose. If you have another form of clay, maybe fixed epoxy, you can weigh the clay that you used, the green clay, and then apply it to the fins or the rotor blades to affix onto it. Give it another spin just to make sure. I don't know about dropping thin super glue on there because that would change the weight and it'd be almost impossible to get them both equal weight-wise. You could try, and it's still being very random. So we've got this one licked. So now all we have to worry about is our launch lug. This is, as a sport model, you're going to launch it without a launch lug because it causes aerodynamic drag. You want this to go as high as possible, so you would not use a launch lug in that case. Again, normally I crochet my cord because I'm not actually going to launch it. I'm just going to wrap it around my fingers and stuff it in the body tube. If there's actually going to be a launch, I'd crochet it and I'd make sure that there's none getting caught in the tube and this goes down easy. Okay, now the launch lug, there's a couple of different ways to do this. I'm going to use open rocket to get mine located where I want it to. And again, we're doing another test fit. It slides in there really well with rubber bands on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to load it with in the sim program, I've already put the weight of this rocket. I went to scale and I weighed it. It's 0.9 ounces. I plugged that into my open rocket calculations. My open rocket was calculating as 1 ounce and 1.68 ounces, I believe. So I built it better than it was coming up on the program. So I'm going to plug in that 0.9 ounces, and I'm going to load it with a C63 engine on the program. That's going to give me where my center of gravity is, and I'm going to center my launch lug on that location. So that's going to be my next step, and then we'll glue the launch lug on with some super glue, and we'll be ready to prep it for primer. All right, so I plugged in my numbers, and I found my center of gravity where it was supposed to be, and the sim was saying about 25 centimeters. So I did a little mark at the 25 centimeter mark from the nose cone. and we balance it on that. Not even close. So to continue trying to find it, we just started rolling back and forth until we actually found the balancing point. Or that the actual balancing point was not 25 centimeters, but the actual balancing point was 25 centimeters, but the sim was saying it was further off. So I did the balancing with my little rocket motor here. This is one way of doing it. I'm just balancing it lightly with my fingers back here. And I'm going to roll back and forth until I find the balance point right there. And then I'm going to mark it. So I marked it, then I measured it. After I measured it, I went into my sim program and I moved my center of gravity to, it was here according to the sim program. I moved it forward because remember, we've got a lot of weight forward here. And it wasn't taking into account of that on my sim program because I could not model it properly. So now I know where my center of gravity is. I can load a simulated engine in the program and it knows what that weight is. And it showed me my center of gravity with C63 is back here. So that's where I'm going to mount my launch lug. Real easy to do that. We'll go ahead and get something underneath here to hold the rocket up off the deck. And we're going to retrieve our launch lug here. Use a little bit of thick CA glue. Now one of the tricks I like to do is to take and mark, since I know that's center, I'm going to go ahead and hold the launch lug right there. I'm going to mark the top and the bottom of the launch lug. Now I know where to put my CA glue before I actually adhere my launch lug. Oop, come back here. Try to hold gentle so I don't squish the launch lug. So run my bead of CA glue. I'm using thick so it doesn't run all over the place. I'm going to switch to my dominant hand here. We're going to line this up nice and careful. Just stick it in place. Check for sighting. I'm happy with that. So now, it's one of the few times you'll see me because I don't want to touch the launch lug. I'm actually going to spray the accelerator on. I don't do that often because it sprays all over the place. And we're going to wipe off the excess. Now we have our launch lug adhered. Now again, if this were actually for sport and I was using this for competition or anything, I would not have used the launch lug because I would want the lightweight of using a tower to launch it from instead of a launch lug giving me any drag. So now that we're fixed, we're ready for a primer. Prime it like you would any of your other rockets. We can paint it just like we would any of our other rockets. Again, if when priming you find that you have a defect that the primer is not going to fill in properly, go ahead and take and sand it. Use an emery board, a little file like I have. File down all the paint in that area and past it a little bit. Put in your putty or whatever you're using to fill in the defect. Then let it dry and repaint it. So hope that helped you out a lot. Again, because we're not going to be flying this rocket for a little bit, I'm going to turn around and take the rubber bands off the blades. So we'll just let the blades swing up, then we'll lightly lift them off. And once each rubber band's been off and free, it'll close right back down and cover it. And one thing I have to point out, when you're setting your rubber bands up and getting ready for launch, be sure the rubber band does not go into these little areas right here where the pivot point is. If you have to use your finger or pencil tip to push them away, I would not suggest grabbing them with tweezers or anything, because you might actually put a notch in the rubber band. You don't want to do that. But a round pencil tip or a pin tip, you should have no problems. But you want to make sure that you push it away from those slots so it does not slide in there during launch and recovery. Otherwise, it won't allow the free swinging of the fin or the blade to come up. So we're all set for paint and primer. I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, put this on YouTube now so you all can share with it. Please promote our videos, promote our hobby. This is the way we get more people into it, and it's a fun hobby. So this is Ken from Rocket Family KML. Remember, pointy end up and clear skies and no winds.